So today we're going to talk about a very simple thing that you can do to do that. And that is reflect. I want you to think about reflecting on this last year before you pile on the pressure for next year. I want you to think about what was right this last year, what you learned this last year, what you want to do more of or less of from this last year before you go speeding into next year doing maybe the same things. You know, when I worked at the local newspaper right out of college and I quit that job, not really sure what I wanted to do next, I just knew I didn't want to do what I had been doing there. And so as I began to look for the next thing, I thought, well, I don't want this environment, which is, to be honest, kind of depressing. I've talked about this before on the show. I don't want this depressing environment and the mundane activities that are not at all in line with my strengths. So I'm going to start to look for something that is exciting, that's a company I believe in, that has purpose, that's in line with my strengths. That's what led me to working for the YMCA for 3 years, and I absolutely loved it. Now, it wasn't easy. It was certainly very hard. It was long hours. It was a really hard season of my life, but I also learned a ton. And I got to work in this environment that made me light up and come alive and use my strengths, and it was so positive, and we changed people's lives. Well, the only reason I knew to look for that is because I took a moment to reflect on what I had been doing. What was awesome about this experience that I want to make sure I do more of in this next season, in this next job? Well, one of the things I loved is I loved that we did work that mattered. We had such purpose and mission to our company, and I wanted to make sure that whatever I did next had purpose and mission. It truly changed lives. There was also, unfortunately, a lot of things that I didn't love, that I didn't want to do anymore, that stressed me out. For example, I worked 7 days a week, and I was on call the majority of those days. The YMCA here at the local center where I worked would open at 5 a.m., which meant that if you were leading a team, you were there at 4:45 to open the center, and it was open till 10 p.m. So if one of my lifeguards called out sick or didn't show up for that 5 a.m. shift, or someone had a problem and didn't come in, or someone got suspended or whatever, guess who got called? I did. So I thought, you know what? I love leadership, but in this next season, I don't want to be responsible for anybody. I don't want to lead a team. I want to be responsible for me. And if I do a good job, then it's a good day. And if I didn't do a good job, I can take responsibility for that. But in my last job, even if I had a great day, someone was always doing something wrong, and that reflected on me. So I began to reflect on this experience in order to inform what I wanted to do next. You know, one of the things I love to talk about is the idea of seasons. Like, what season are you in with your health, or with your kids, or with your job, or with your family, or with your goals? What would it look like to reflect on the last season before you set goals and decide what you're going to do in the next season? I had an experience a couple years ago where my husband and I had signed our kids up for so many activities. And they were all good activities, from gymnastics to camp to soccer to basketball, but we ran ourselves ragged. And so when I stopped at the end of that season, completely exhausted, I reflected on that and thought, what do I want to do different? Man, we did too much. In this next season, we're going to choose one activity. In this next season, we're going to choose one sport. See, there's such power in simply reflecting. When you reflect on what was, whether that's your past job, your last season, or whatever that looks like, your last year, 2021, you can use that information to inform what you do next. But if you don't stop and reflect, if you don't stop and pause and look at what was, then you might end up doing the same things again. Pursuing a job that has the same problems, setting goals that get you run ragged, signing up for all the activities and all the sports, and you end 2022 the same way you're ending this year, with no growth and no change. And I know you want to grow. I know you want to change. I know you want things to be different, even if it's just by degrees. You want to make it a little better here, a little bit more margin here, a little bit better relationships here. I don't know what that is for you. If you want next year to be different, if you want to grow or change or improve any area of your life, you need to pause. Reflect on what was before you decide what you're going to do next.